Jordan Schmaltz. I'm not 100% sure what he does, but he was in the NHL for a little bit, and he does some stuff. He says, one guy I'd be looking to move potentially at the deadline is pending RFA Evan Bouchard. If I'm Stan Bowman and I see a body work over the next 15-odd games from John Klingberg that warrants PP1 ability, are you okay with maybe getting a solid return on the 25-year-old out of Oakville, Ontario? Something to keep an eye on over the next month. Then he ends it with his People's Insider hang-up. If there is an NHL GM who watches 15 games of a guy who just had hip resurfacing surgery and is in his 30s and hasn't played a competitive hockey game in 14, 15 months now, if you see 15 good games from him and move a 25-year-old who's been the most productive playoff defenseman of his generation.
Yes, very true.
If you trade that guy ahead of the deadline because John Klingberg looks good for 15 games, you should be instantly fired.
As soon as the idea is brought up in the room, you should be fired on the spot. Or put in a serious timeout. One of the two.
And again, yeah, like this one is great from Preston Hodgkinson. Like, tap the sign. You don't trade a 25-year-old defenseman who consistently ranks at the top of nearly all defensive metrics and had the best season/playoff by an Oilers defenseman since Paul Coffey last year. Like, the last defenseman to wear an Oilers jersey and do what Evan Bouchard does was Paul Coffey. It's banana lands. Yeah. Even as soon as he hit send on this tweet, Twitter should have deleted his account. It's that terrible of an idea. Like, I kind of retweeted and got in on a few different parts of this conversation, but like, we are fully and totally at the Darnell Nurse side of this thing.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's almost worse, where Evan Bouchard in a game will do 10 to 15 really good things. Really crisp breakout passes that honestly kind of he can only make. Really good heady plays. Against Seattle, like he had a bunch of hiccups. They weren't good. One of them, though, he turned it over, then made like a great sliding play with a poke check to negate the scoring chance. And again, it's just at the point where like 10 good Bouchard things happen in a hockey game. And then there's the one or two bad things, and that is all anyone wants to talk about, right? And people cling to it, and they sit there and look at his body language. Like, remember when people were doing that with Leon Draisaitl early in his career? His body language sucks. I would trade that guy. It is the exact same crowd. Exact same crowd. And guess what? They're never wrong. Because as soon as they're wrong, they're on to the next guy that they want to talk about, right? They were never wrong on Leon Draisaitl, and, oh, my God, you let that guy walk. You'll never win with him. He slowly skates off the ice on his line changes. He doesn't try defensively. He'd be nothing without McDavid. You can't pay that guy more than $10 million. Okay, Draisaitl's producing like crazy in the playoffs, and we're on to Darnell Nurse. That's the worst contract the Edmonton Oilers have ever given out, blah, 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 blah. He starts to play better, and guess what, Liam? Those people aren't wrong now because they're just on to Evan Bouchard. You want to pay Evan Bouchard like Darnell Nurse, who's having a great season and playing all physical? Well, those same people 12 months ago said you should fire Darnell Nurse into the sun, see if you can Nancy Kerrigan him and break his knees, send him to Robidaw Island for 2 years. Like, it's ridiculous. These people are never wrong, and both sides of the argument, I think, have these kinds of moments and players, but like, it's very, very frustrating to see Oilers fans not learn the lesson of past years and past defensemen. You did this with Jeff Petrie, and then you sent him out of town. He went on to have a great career with a couple of other stops and was awesome in Montreal. And guess what? The second you traded Jeff Petrie and he started doing what he was doing, he went to Montreal, and then for the next 6 years, it was like, man, wouldn't you love to have a guy like Jeff Petrie? Damn.
The same people who are saying trade Bouchard are the same people being like, I can't believe Ryan McLeod's not here.
Yeah.
Warren Fogel's not here. It's like, we don't need to get that drastic with things. Like you'll hear it in a little bit. We spoke with Jeff Merrick earlier, and he said the Vegas Golden Knights watched Ivan Barbashev 100 times plus before they acquired him. If Stan Bowman, like you said, or any GM, which they are not thinking this, by the way, is saying, 15 games of John Klingberg, that should warrant us trading our best defenseman, best defensive prospects, whatever you want to call them. It's just dumb. It's just really dumb. And the Oilers, and everyone's doing it. I made a poll in the chat. Would you trade Evan Bouchard? 14% of people said yes. 86% of people said, no, I am not stupid.
There you go.
So, yeah, that pretty much closes that argument. I just don't get it. And like, there's totally an argument of this Four Nations debate of like, should he be on the team, should he not be on the team? I don't think he should be on the team. I don't think he fits the criteria of what Alex Pietrangelo
Darnell Nurse is the Oiler that could replace him, but that's not even in the mix.
It's not even a conversation. But like, to trade Evan Bouchard would be idiotic. It would probably be the worst move in the last 10 years.
The second you trade Evan Bouchard, you spend a generation trying to find the next Evan Bouchard.
They don't have one. There's very few guys. And Bouchard is not playing at the level he needs to play at by any means. Yeah. He needs to be better in many aspects of it. Like, his defensive numbers are good, but obviously we see the errors that cause goals, and it's bad. But I don't know. I really don't think anyone with any kind of logic is doing this. Even Wise Kyle in the chat, I would only trade Evan Bouchard for Cale Makar.
Or Quinn Hughes.
That's
the list.
Yeah.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.